And I even remembered to do that, which helps. Okay, so okay, so we are in Kufya Test 119. We're up to the letter Hey. Hey has always been a letter which represents Hashem. In Hashem's name, the name that we don't say of Hashem is a Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. And the letter Hey is always connected very much with Hashem's name. Hey has the numerical value of 5. And it says that it was with the letter Hey that Hashem created the world. And the Medrash tells us what does that mean with the letter Hey that Hashem created the world. So it says it has 2 openings, a big one at the bottom and a smaller one at the top. And it says we've got to work hard to get to heaven. That's through the small opening at the top. It's easy to fall through the big opening at the bottom. Okay, so that's just about the letter Hey, and we're ready to look at the words. It's actually quite almost difficult psukim that we are looking at today. The letter Hey, David HaMelech's desire to be clever. He's one of the people. He and Shlomo are the ones who asked Hashem that they want to be clever. They want to have wisdom, and it seems like these 8 psukim for the letter Hey are really homing in on that desire to learn. But here, a little bit more than in the previous few letters, David is asking that he should learn and it should be practical. He wants it not just to be a learning of intellect, as we'll see, but a learning of doing. So the first 3 psukim, David HaMelech uses 3 different ways to tell Hashem what he wants. He says the first word of each of those 3 psukim, he says Hareini, which means teach me. So Hareini Hashem, teach me Hashem. The second one in Lamed Daled, he says Havineni, which means give me understanding. And the third one, he says Hadricheni, which means lead me or guide me. So we want to understand what is the difference between these 3 things that he's asking for, and why dafka these 3 things. So he says, Hareini Hashem derech chukecha, please Hashem, teach me the ways of your statutes, ve'etzarena akev, so that I can follow them. And I'm just going to say the word akev because I think every English translation says differently. The simplest one says ve'etzarena, I'll keep them, akev, forever. Then he says havineni, give me this understanding, ve'etzra saresecha, so I could keep your teachings, ve'eshmerena b'chol lev, and I'll keep them with all my heart. And then he says, Hadricheni b'nesiv mitzvaysecha, guide me or lead me in the path of your mitzvahs, kivay chafatzti, because that's what I want to do. And we're told that these 3 words, Hareini, Havineni, and Hadricheni, these 3 words are they each one mean a different kind of learning, a different level of learning. And he's asking Hashem for all 3. So the first thing he wants is chachma. He wants wisdom. Hashem, teach me your Torah. Let me know it. Let me study it, learn it, and know your Torah. Let me have chachma. Let me have wisdom. He moves on after that because having wisdom is not enough. Like you can't just learn and say that's enough. But havineni, I want to understand it, and all the commentaries just about say havineni is an act of love. When you want to understand something with love. What word are we seeing in havineni? We see the word bina. So now we've moved from chachma, wisdom, to bina. Bina is when you understand something enough that you can use your wisdom to do it, and the commentaries add with love. And then he goes, Hadricheni, and lead me. So this is what we call das, knowledge, when you can use what you've learned properly, you can use different things you've learned and mix them together, and you can then keep Torah properly. And so the first thing that David is saying to us over here is, lead me in an upward direction. First give me chachma, then give me bina, and then give me da'as. That's the first understanding over here. Let's look back at the psukim and see what he says about each thing. So he begins by saying, Hareini Hashem derech chukecha. Hashem, teach me the way of your chukim, of your statutes, the etzarena akev, and I will follow them akev. So Rashi immediately says about the word ve'etzarena, Rashi says, this is shmira, I'll keep them, I'll guard them. So why the word then etzarena? Why not a shmira? Okay, I'll guard them. Why does Rashi need to tell us what is more about the word etzarena? Say the commentaries that it's a different kind of guarding. It's guarding something that is really precious, something that you really love, cherish, something that's very important to you. You guard it in a different way to how you look after something that's not so important. So David is saying over here, teach me your Torah, teach me your mitzvahs, let me know them so that I can keep them, because I'll feel that they're precious. So what is this idea then of akev? I'll keep it akev. So in a few of the translations, I don't know which ones you're using, the word akev over here is not translated literally, but says step by step. Okay, that I'll keep them akev. Akev actually literally means a hill, and most of the commentaries say over here, what does David mean by this? For etzarena, I'll keep them akev, with my heel, so to speak, step by step. The first lesson that David is teaching us over here is that any Torah that you learn, any things that you want to take on, any mitzvah that you want to do, it has to be akev. It has to be something that you do step by step by step. And one of the commentaries actually say that akev doesn't just mean steps, but it means little steps. Walking with your toe to your heel, with your toe to your heel. There's little steps that we have to take what we learn and like chunk it up, so to speak, into little steps, and that's the best way of learning Torah and getting results. The heel also is the bottom of our body, so to speak, it's our foot. It's the very end of our body, yet we need it. Okay, we need it very, very much. So we wouldn't say your heel is the most important part of you, but it's the part of you can't really manage without it. If you do manage without it, it hurts, or you're not walking properly, or you need a stick, or whatever else it is. But even though it's so low down, it's something that we need. And that's another thing that David HaMelech is telling us over here. Teach me your Torah so that I can do every part of it, even the parts that I don't think are important, that I think are akev, at the bottom of the line of what I need to be doing. And further than that, the Rebbe actually goes on and he says, akev actually refers to those mitzvahs which we step on. We all have mitzvahs which we think are important. They're big, they're great. That's something I really must do. And then we all have mitzvahs which are akev, which we step on, which we don't think are so important as the others. And David HaMelech says, Hashem, I want you to teach me in a way that I'll be able to guard and look after akev, even those mitzvahs that I don't think are so important. I just have to tell you all that the sun just came out. We haven't seen sun for about a week now, like just for a week, and suddenly the room got all bright. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, also this concept of akev. So you have probably all heard the expression ikvasa de Mashiach, or ikvasa de Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach. And one of the things that we know about the footsteps of Mashiach, so on the positive side, we like to say, I can hear the footsteps of Mashiach, right? And there's a beautiful song which says, I can hear the sound of children laughing, I can hear the sounds of animals singing, whatever. But more often than that, the quote for Ikvasa de Mashiach are when we feel that we're being stepped on, when we feel the pain that comes like with galus, with exile, and this ikvasa de Mashiach, whenever we feel the intense pain that probably everybody is feeling today, all over the world, ikvasa de Mashiach, we say the only thing it could be is the footsteps of Mashiach. And David HaMelech says over here, Hareini Hashem derech chukecha, Hashem teach me, give me clarity, give me the wisdom for chukecha, those things, those mitzvahs that I don't really understand, and those times that I don't really understand. Ve'etzarena, if you Hashem give me that knowledge of understanding it, akev, I will cherish it, even though it's akev, even though it hurts. So that's that's the first pasuk, the first thing David is asking for here. He then continues and he says, Havineni ve'etzra saresecha. Guide, make me understand, and I will go along ve'etzra saresecha. I will go along the path of your Torah, ve'eshmerena b'chol leiv, and I'll keep it with all my heart. So he's moving on now to something. All this time, David HaMelech has been talking about very intellectual things. Teach me Torah, let me learn Torah, let me understand your greatness. And in the next few psukim, we're going to see that David HaMelech turns emotional. And here's the first little sign of emotion. We'll see it even more in Pasuk Lamed Vav, but little sign of emotion. Let me understand this, because I do not understand all the things that are going on in your world. I don't understand all the different parts of Torah, but I want to keep it. How do I want to keep it? B'chol leiv, with my whole heart. And the commentaries tell us that what is David asking for here? He says we all ask for this at some time. There's times where we learn and we do and we plod on, and we're not actually exactly sure what's going on. We don't understand what Hashem is doing. We don't understand even possibly the meaning of the Torah we're learning, the mitzvahs, whatever it is. But we want to feel it. We want to feel it with our hearts. And every now and again we get that inspiration or that motivation. This is the Havinenu. This is the request that David makes. I want to understand it, not just with my head, but I also want to understand it with my heart. And that's I just want to love what I'm doing. I want to love the Torah that I'm learning. I want to love it when I think about Hashem, when I think about mitzvahs. So this is Havineni. Let me have it and love it. Ve'eshmara, because leiv, heart, always represents loving something. So ve'eshmara b'chol leiv, I want to keep it with all my heart. In other words, I don't want my Yiddishkeit just to be an intellectual pursuit. I want it to be something that I feel inside, that I understand. And then he goes on to the third level of this, because it's moving up in levels, and he says, Hadricheni b'nesiv mitzvaysecha. Guide me, lead me on the pathways of your mitzvahs, kivay chafatzti, because that's where I want to go. So, and nesiv is the little pathways. You have the main road, and then you have little smaller roads that go off the highway, go off the main road. And what David is saying here, we can keep Yiddishkeit just like it's a highway. I do it just I go on the big roads, I do the big things, I do the mitzvahs. I seem like I'm interested, I do what's required of me. Or I can go b'nesiv mitzvaysecha. I can look at the details of the various mitzvahs, the little pathways. I can make that real to me. I can feel it. And this is what David says. I want to feel it. I want to feel all the little bits. I don't want to do things just to be yaitse, just to have done it. I want to do it because kivay chafatzti, because this I wanted to. I was trying to think of it in a more like practical life, or like what would be an example of this. So I was thinking about like when we make a Shabbos meal. So we can make just an ordinary, I always call them chicken and rice Shabbos, where not in the mood of cooking, um, either buy or grill a chicken, cook some rice, and open a can of green beans. It's a very decent meal. Okay, I think it's a very nice meal. But then I can also have a meal where I make extra salads and 3 extra kugels, and I put flowers on the table, and I move the stuff from the foil pan to a platter. So that is nesiv mitzvah. That's the little detail. So we can all be those kind of people who keep Torah mitzvahs, chicken and rice Shabbos, or we can make it a dinner party, a Shabbos, a big Shabbos meal. And David HaMelech is saying, how do I want it to be with Torah Yiddishkeit? I want it to be kivay chafatzti. This is what I want. I want to be able to do it b'nesiv mitzvah, with all the details, with the little extras, with the showing the preciousness of what we're doing. And now he moves to a real level of emotion. Lamadvav, he says, Hat libi el edesecha. Turn my heart, move my heart to your practices, the al el batza, and not to pursuing greed. So this first request, Hat libi, the commentaries jump in over here and say, this is David HaMelech being very vulnerable and being very emotional. He's to ask Hashem if he will help me to learn, that makes sense. But to ask Hashem, Hat libi, make my heart want you. And the Gemara actually says on this that in order to desire Hashem, in order to pursue Torah mitzvahs, we can't do it on our own. We need Hashem. And this is David HaMelech who's saying this. He says, Hat libi, help me with my emotions, help me feel, help me realize the preciousness of Torah mitzvahs. And he says this is va'al el batza, and rather than looking for wealth. And actually the Evan Ezra says over here that if a person would realize how precious Torah and mitzvahs were, so that's what he would be chasing all the time. But our natural instinct is to chase money rather, right? So, and then he continues and he says that the word batza means profit. And almost everything we do in life, we do it for profit. So sometimes it's money that we're looking for, but most times, even when we think we're doing good, we do it for ourselves. I feel good when I do that. I look good when I do that. Other people think I'm great when I do that. And says David HaMelech, and he's the king, okay, who needs to make a good impression on everyone. He says, but that shouldn't be the reason that I do it. I want to do it just because it's yours, Hashem. I want to do it just because I realize the preciousness of it. In other words, I want to keep Torah lishma. I want to keep Torah for its own sake, and not because of the way it makes me feel or the way I look to other people or whatever it is. So I want you to make my heart feel the connection rather than va'al el batza, and not for my own personal profit. This concept of hat libi, turn my heart. So the commentaries explain to us, also Malbim actually explains to us, that we all have different instincts of things we like. So some people, can you imagine, one of the girls at school told me today she loves this rainy weather. I think that's mad. Okay, completely mad. Personally, I get sad in this rainy weather. I like the sunshine. Other people don't like it when it's hot outside, and they're saying this is so much better than the 2 hot weeks that we had before we got this week. And so everybody has things that they like, that they're drawn to, their personality, where they grew up, who their family is, which push us to certain things that we like, that we appreciate. And David HaMelech is asking Hashem an interesting thing here. He says, Hashem, hat libi el eidesecha. Instead of me loving the sun or the beach or the rain or whatever it is that my natural self loves, I want you to make me be drawn to Torah and mitzvahs. Make it easy for me. Va'al el bata, and not for the reward of doing the mitzvah. You've probably all at some stage heard the story of the Maggid, who was somewhere. It was just before Sukkot, and he didn't have the arba minim. He didn't have the four kinds, and he sent out people or students that should go look for a little of an esrog for him, so he would be able to do the mitzvah on Sukkot. And they searched and they searched, and eventually they came back with one, and they told him, they said, "You're going to be very angry with us, but the way that we managed to get this, we found one person who had brought back a little of an esrog from faraway place, and we begged and pleaded with him, and we convinced him that he should give it to us to bring to you, because he's a maggid, right? And now we've got to tell you what the condition was. He said he would give it to us if you would give him your Elam Haba." And we took on ourselves to say yes. And they were very afraid that they would be in such trouble over making such a deal on the Maggid's Elam Haba. And the Maggid like got so excited, got so happy, and he said, "This is the best news ever. I get to bench Lulav and Esrog just because Hashem said so, and there's no ulterior motive because I know even my Elam Haba has been given away already. This is the ultimate. This is what I want, and this is the epitome, if we could say that, of make me love your mitzvahs, va'al el batza, and don't make it a thing about looking for my own personal gain, my own personal profit." And then David asks Hashem to help him with um, issues that he's having achieving all of this. So he says, "Ha'aver einai mir shav," keep my eyes away from seeing bad things. Bidrachecha chayeni, and let me live in your ways. So we know that it's because of our eyes, our heart, and our eyes that we sin. And we say that in the Shema all the time. Don't let me turn like after my heart, and after what my eyes see. And we always are told that our eyes see and our hearts desire. David HaMelech, he knew himself that um, he needed help with what his eyes saw and what he's attracted to. It says in the Gemara that David HaMelech had beautiful eyes. Sorry, not the Gemara, in the Medrash. That David HaMelech had beautiful eyes. So what does that mean? Big blue eyes, big brown eyes? Like, what is the Medrash actually telling us? And it says David HaMelech had clarity of vision. That's what it means to have beautiful eyes, to be able to see what's right, what's wrong, to understand. And yet, of all people, David HaMelech is the one who landed up sinning, and I'm using the word sinning very loosely because that's whatever, it's a whole different story. Did he sin or didn't he sin? But we call it David's sin with Bathsheba. Because of his eyes, he saw Bathsheba and he desired her, right? So this was David, the one who it says about him that he had a good eye, that he knew what was right and wrong. He when he was tested with his eyes, he didn't pass with such flying colors. And so David asks, he says, "Avert my eyes from seeing vanity, from seeing shav." And actually, if you think about it, the first sin ever that came into the world was because of eyes. Chava saw the tree and she wanted to eat from it. She desired it. And so David says, the best way, the only way to connect with Hashem is if I'm careful with what I see, okay, with what's around me. He says, Pasuk Lamed Hey, Hakem le'avdecha imrasecha, fulfill what you promised to your servant, Asher le'yirasecha, that I would fear you. So we know that fear of Hashem is the main thing that it's the main thing that prevents us from sinning. So and it's not talking about just being scared of punishment. That's the lowest form of fear. But fear, rather, we should use the word awe, when a person is in such awe of Hashem that he can't sin. He wouldn't sin because Hashem is so amazing, so great. We told, says the Evan Ezra, that there's times in our lives where there are gzeira min hashamayim, that they're decrees from heaven, which we don't like. We don't understand them. They're difficult. They're challenging, and we don't know why we have this decree against us. And David HaMelech is asking over here. So many times I've had gzeiros min hashamayim. Things have happened to me that I don't know why those things have happened. The challenge is so big. It doesn't make sense. I can't carry it. I don't know what it is. But what I'm asking you, Hashem, is that all of those challenges, all of those gezeiras, they should lead me, the Yirasecha, to see you as great, to see you as awesome, and not to be afraid. The Malbim speaks over here of what makes us scared when we talk about Yiras Shamayim, fear of heaven. What makes people anxious? And I found it very interesting because the Malbim wrote a long time ago, and he speaks about the world of people being anxious. And like you look around our world today, and we are anxious human beings, right? We all have fears of all different kinds of things at all different levels. We suffer greatly from anxiety. And the Malbim says it would be nice if we could all just do this so easily. He says if a person fears God, if you have Yira Shamayim, you will not be anxious about anything at all. I was trying to, because I prepared this last night, so I don't know if I should say this in public, but at the beginning of the week I had a mouse in my house. I think. And it's one of my big fears. Okay. Surprised that you didn't all hear the screams and come and help me. But yeah, okay. And last night I decided I could hear something again. It actually was the blinds banging on the window in the wind. And I was lying there thinking, I just prepared a shirt that said if I would fear God, I wouldn't be scared of anything else. And here I am lying in my bed, petrified that maybe there's a mouse. So I think the commentaries are speaking on a much deeper level than that. Okay, much deeper level than that. But yes, if we trust in Hashem and we have full Yiras Shamayim, we have full trust in Hashem, promises us, David HaMelech, that we will fear nothing else. We will not have anxieties. We'll live a happy life, right? So try it. Okay, the thing. This is David HaMelech says, Hashem, you promised me that you would provide me with Yira Shamayim, and that would be what would help me and would save me. Just because I mentioned the mouse, I also have to tell you that my husband caught it, chased it. Okay, so I just have to finish that. Okay, Pasuk Lamed Tes, Haver cherpasi asher yagoti, remove my shame, my embarrassment, which I just read, ki mishpatecha tovim, because your judgments are good. And Rashi says straight away, what is David HaMelech's embarrassment? What is his shame? And that's the whole story with Bathsheba. And David HaMelech lived with embarrassment and shame because of the incident with Bathsheba forever. And people used to taunt him, like where he would go, people would say things, they would make bad comments to him, and he for his life he was always dealing with the shame, the embarrassment of what had happened. And so here he's asking Hashem, he says, Ha'aver cherpasi, remove my shame. In other words, let me move on from this. Let me realize that it happened. I've done tshuva, according to many opinions, or all opinions. It wasn't even really a sin. And I want to stop being held back as a result of it. He's not asking not to be punished. He actually voices that. He says, Ki mishpatecha tovim, your mishpat, your justice, that you're gonna punish me or make the consequence of my actions be Tehillim. I accept them as good. I'm only asking that I shouldn't continuously be shamed and embarrassed by them. Um, it's interesting. A lot of the commentaries connect this with the pasuk before, and they say that um, David is upset because he feels shame and upset. He says, "If I really was fully God fearing, I would know that I've done all the tshuva I need to do. I would know that Hashem will deal with me however Hashem wants to deal with me, and I wouldn't continuously be worried about being embarrassed by all the people who I'm around." And that's what he's saying over here. We have a similar thing with Yaakov, when Yaakov is afraid of meeting Esav, and the pasuk says, Yaakov, he was afraid, and he was petrified. And the commentaries ask over there, why both expressions? And one of the beautiful explanations that I saw is that he was afraid of Esav, he was petrified about himself, why he was afraid of Esav. He kept saying, what is it? I don't fear Hashem properly. If I feared Hashem properly, I wouldn't be so scared of Esav. And Chazal explained to us that what Yaakov was actually saying, sorry, not Yaakov, David was actually saying over here was, in order for me to move on, when we all make mistakes, bigger, smaller, whatever kinds of mistakes we make, but in order for us to be able to move on from them, we need to stop holding ourselves back because of them. And that's why he says, remove my shame so that I can move on, so that I can carry on doing and being and getting greater. And then he finishes off by saying, Hine ta'avti l'fikudecha, I yearn for your instructions, but sidkascha chayeni, give me life with your goodness. And it's interesting, this idea of, look, ta'avti l'fikudecha, I desire, I want, I yearn to serve you, Hashem, properly. And so we also like, yeah, we know that, right? In almost every single parak of Tehillim, David says how much he wants to connect with Hashem in one way or another. So what is the new thing over here? So here, David HaMelech has spoken about connecting with Hashem and learning and doing and wanting and reaching high levels of Yiras Shamayim. And then he comes to the reality, the realization is that sometimes I want so much to do it, and for whatever reason I don't. Either it's because I didn't feel, or I didn't get to it. I really wanted to, but I didn't manage, right? So he says, Hashem, I want you to know, Hine ta'avti lefikudecha. I desire, I want, I yearn to be doing Torah mitzvahs properly. If I didn't manage, but I really, really wanted to, then b'tzidkascha chayeni, I want you to fill my life as a tzedakah, as a gift to me. In other words, count it as though I did. And this is the letter Hey. So the commentaries explain to us very nicely. This is a whole program on its own for us. The first three psukim were give me chachma, give me bina, give me das. Then he moved on with another two psukim where he spoke about ahavas Hashem. I want to love you, Hashem. Then moved on in the sixth and seventh pasuk to Yira. Hashem, I want to fear you. That's the highest level. But then he gave us a higher level, which we don't normally come across. And he says, Ta'afti. I yearn for you, that even if all my plans of getting the chachma, getting the bina, getting the das, trying to love Hashem, trying to fear only Hashem, even if it didn't all work in the end the way I wanted it to, just because I tried, I worked so hard at it, ta'afti, Hashem counted as though I did. And that's where we will end off today. As I said at the beginning, there is no sharing for the next two. The next two Thursdays will be away, please God.
Thank you, Rifki.
Thank you.
Just have a wonderful time with Macaulay and